The next step is to define audiences and their specific needs, and basically define also the learning objectives. And for that purpose, you'll have to analyze what kind of profiles you have in a company and who actually you will be creating this training for. So for example, you might have a separate training for the senior management, separate for middle management, and let's say separate training for a particular department. Or you might be actually creating only one training, or let's say security awareness for all the employees in the company. And then you have to define a framework against which you'll do the training. So you might do the training against let's say ISO 9001, or more general quality management training. Or you might actually have DORA, the cybersecurity regulation for financial industry, as basically a basis for all the departments. Or you might say that your purchasing department will focus on this sub-regulation from DORA, this regulatory technical standard, which speaks about how to handle suppliers, whereas your IT department will focus on this RTS, which speaks about security measures in information technology. And then you also have to specify if you want to focus on a specific area within some framework. So for example, if you're going for ISO 27001, you want to, let's say, deliver a specific training for statement of applicability. Then you also have to define in how much depth you want to go, depending on your audience needs. So is this going to be a training for beginners or intermediate level or advanced level? Of course, that will depend on how much knowledge do these audiences already have. And then also your customer might have a specific, let's say, desires on what kind of an angle they want to put to this training. So if you're doing this training on ISO 27001 statement of applicability, they might be interested more in, let's say, how to connect it to the risk register, or they might be interested more in how to select the controls. So all of these things you have to analyze to create, I would say, a perfect training for your client. And then finally, you should define these learning objectives. So basically a list of things that you want to achieve with a particular training. So you could say that for this last example, that the learning objective is that you want the attendees to master the connection between statement of applicability and controls from the Annex A from ISO 27001.